A chainsaw that spins its chain from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a quarter of a second, quicker off the line than the fastest Tesla. A machine so strong it can drag a 5-foot bar clean through a giant tree. Engines that fire without a carburetor, tune themselves to the altitude and grind all day without skipping a beat. These aren't toys. These are the 10 greatest professional chainsaws ever built. The saws pros stake their livelihoods on. Let's cut in. Number 10. Stihl MS 201T C-M. We're kicking things off up in the canopy because not every legendary saw is a giant. The Stihl MS 201T C-M is a top-handled chainsaw, and Stihl themselves call it the ultimate arborist chainsaw. That's not marketing fluff, that's a reputation earned rope by rope, branch by branch. Here's what makes it special. It runs a 35.2 cubic centimeter two-stroke engine that produces about 2.4 brake horsepower, and the powerhead weighs just 8.2 pounds. That featherweight number is the entire point. When you're 80 feet up a tree, clipped into a harness, working a saw one-handed around your own limbs and rope, every ounce matters. Weight up in the tree is fatigue, and fatigue up in the tree is danger. What pushed this saw into legend status is the M-Tronic engine management system. M-Tronic is a fully electronic brain that controls ignition timing and fuel metering automatically. It compensates for changes in altitude, temperature, and even fuel quality, and it does it without you ever touching a carburetor screw. For an arborist who might start the morning at ground level and end it 100 feet up, that self-adjusting consistency is gold. It also means simplified, reliable starts, which matters when you're in an awkward position and can't exactly brace the saw against your boot. Stihl builds it with a side access chain tensioner, a fold-out carrying hook, and the quick-stop chain brake. And it's important to say clearly, the top-handle design is strictly for trained, certified in-tree professionals. It is not a homeowner saw, and Stihl won't even sell it in California. But for the working arborist, the 201T C-M is the benchmark that every other top-handle saw gets measured against. It's number 10 because it's a specialist, but in its specialty, nothing does it better. Number 9. Husqvarna 562 XP Mark II. Now we step out of the tree and onto the forest floor, with what a lot of loggers will tell you is the perfect all-around professional saw, the Husqvarna 562 XP Mark II. Husqvarna literally markets it as a redesigned legend, and the 60cc class it lives in is arguably the most important class in professional forestry, because it's where power and agility meet. The 562 XP Mark II runs a 59.8 cubic centimeter X-Torque engine that puts out 4.7 horsepower, and the power head weighs only about 13 pounds. That combination is the whole story. You get the grunt to pull up to a 28-inch bar and fell serious hardwood, but the saw stays slim and light enough to whip through limbing and bucking all day without wearing your arms out. It's a saw that can do 80% of a professional's daily work without ever feeling like too much saw or too little. The Mark II badge means this is a ground-up redesign of the original 562. Husqvarna reworked the engine architecture, improved the cooling with better airflow over the hot components, and beefed up the air filtration. That matters more than it sounds. Better cooling and filtration directly translate to longer service intervals and a longer engine life when you're running the saw hard for 8 hours straight. At its heart is Auto-Tune 3.0. Like Stihl's M-Tronic, Auto-Tune is a self-adjusting engine management system. It automatically sets the fuel-air mixture for the current temperature, altitude, and fuel. No manual carburetor tuning, no choke fiddling, just prime and pull. Add the X-Torque engine technology, which cuts fuel consumption and slashes emissions, plus Husqvarna's air injection system that flings out the majority of dust before it ever reaches the filter, and low-vibe anti-vibration dampeners to save your hands, and you've got a saw that's built to work a full career. It's not the biggest or the flashiest on this list. It's just relentlessly, dependably good. Number 8. Husqvarna 572 XP. Step up one displacement class, and you land on the saw that many professional loggers consider the sweet spot for felling, the Husqvarna 572 XP. If the 562 is the all-rounder, the 572 is the dedicated felling saw, the one that comes out when the timber gets big and the day gets long. Under the hood, it's a 70.6 cubic centimeter X-Torque engine, making 5.8 horsepower. and the power head comes in at 14.5 pounds. Husqvarna claims a 12% higher cutting capacity than the previous generation of saws in its class, and that number shows up in the real world as raw speed through the cut. This saw was tested, in Husqvarna's own words, in the world's most rugged environments, and it's aimed squarely at forestry and tree care pros who need big saw power without stepping all the way up to a heavy 80 or 90C machine. The engineering focus here is endurance. The 572 XP has a state-of-the-art cooling system with a heat shield and optimized airflow, so it can maintain peak performance through those brutal 8-hour shifts in high heat without losing power or cooking the engine. It's got heavy-duty filtration, auto-tune to keep it dialed in automatically, and low-vibe dampening for the operator. It's optimized to run a 20 to 24-inch bar for the best balance, but it's got the torque and the oiling to comfortably pull up to a 28-inch and even longer bar when you're dropping big-diameter trees. There's also a heated-handled G version for loggers working through cold, damp winter mornings. The kind of detail that separates a saw designed for hobbyists from one designed for people whose living depends on it running every single day. The 572 XP earns its spot because it's a modern do-it-all felling workhorse that professionals trust when the trees get serious. Number 7. Stihl MS 462 C-M. Here's where the numbers start to get a little unbelievable. The Stihl MS 462 C-M made history as, in Stihl's words, the lightest ever Stihl chainsaw produced in its fuel-powered class. And that class is the demanding 70C C Pro felling category. The specs read almost like a typo. It's a 72.2 cubic centimeter engine, producing right around 6 brake horsepower, and yet the whole thing weighs only about 13 pounds. Do the math on that and you land at a power-to-weight ratio of roughly 0.46 horsepower per pound, a genuinely crazy figure for a saw this size. When the 462 debuted, only Stihl's 90 CP and 120 CP monsters sat above it in the lineup, which means you're getting nearly top-tier felling power in a package that feels a full size smaller in your hands. The magic ingredient is the same M-tronic electronic engine management we talked about earlier, in its next-generation form. It controls ignition timing and fuel metering automatically and auto-adjusts for altitude and fuel quality, so the saw is always running at its optimum without a human touching a carburetor. Stihl also engineered the anti-vibration system specifically to keep the saw comfortable even when it's swinging a long guide bar, and added a winter-summer shutter that lets the carburetor run at the right temperature year-round and prevents icing in the cold. This saw effectively replaced two beloved older models, the MS441 and MS461, and it did it by being lighter and more capable than both. For the working logger who spends all day felling and bucking, the MS462 CM reduced fatigue in a way that genuinely changed how long a person could stay productive in the woods. It's a masterclass in the single most important idea in professional chainsaw design: maximum power, minimum weight. Number 6. Husqvarna 3120 XP. Time to go to the absolute extreme. The Husqvarna 3120 XP is one of the most powerful chainsaws in the world, and it exists for the jobs that ordinary professional saws simply cannot handle: extreme logging, portable sawmills, and heavy stump work. The engine is a monstrous 118.8 cubic centimeters, cranking out 8.4 horsepower and a huge 7.7 newton meters of torque. And torque is the whole reason this saw exists. The 3120 XP is designed to pull Husqvarna's longest bars. The recommended range runs up to 42 inches, but this saw is famously capable of pulling bars up to 6 feet long. Think about that. That's a bar taller than most people, buried in a log, and this engine has the sustained low-end grunt to keep that chain moving through hours of dense, oversized hardwood. That's exactly what makes it the darling of the chainsaw milling world. When someone wants to turn a massive log into slabs on a portable mill, the 3120 XP is one of the go-to power units, because milling demands continuous, punishing torque for long stretches, not just a quick burst of speed. It's built to lug, not to sprint. And here's the surprising part, considering the size. Husqvarna equipped it with Smart Start compression release and their low-vibe anti-vibration dampeners, so despite being one of the biggest saws on the planet, it's engineered to be genuinely startable and manageable for the person running it. It even keeps a respectable power-to-weight ratio for something in this category. This is not a saw you buy to cut firewood on a Saturday. This is a saw you buy when your job is felling the largest tree species on Earth or ripping giant timber into lumber. It's a specialist, and in the world of extreme-duty saws, it's a titan. Number 5. Husqvarna 592 XP. Now we get to Husqvarna's modern flagship. The saw that was built to go head-to-head with the very best Stihl has to offer. The Husqvarna 592 XP. This is the crown jewel of Husqvarna's 90cc range, and it was engineered from the start for professional forestry and tree care workers who demand the absolute best in heavy-duty performance. The heart of it is a 92.7 cubic centimeter X torque engine, producing 7.6 horsepower with about 5.9 Newton-meters of peak torque and a dry weight of roughly 7.4 kilograms, a genuinely strong power-to-weight number for a saw of this displacement. Husqvarna pairs that engine with their razor-sharp X-cut chains, and here's the interesting part. They openly benchmarked the 592 XP's cutting capacity against its closest competitor in the same class, the Stihl MS 661 C-M, a saw you'll be meeting very shortly. That's a bold, direct challenge, and it tells you exactly what this saw was built to beat. The technology package is top tier. It runs Auto Tune 3.0 for completely hands-off engine tuning across any altitude, temperature, or fuel quality. No manual carburetor adjustments ever. The air injection system removes the overwhelming majority of airborne dust before it reaches the filter, dramatically extending service intervals. Low vibe dampening protects the operator through long shifts. And there's even a service connector that lets a dealer plug the saw into a diagnostic tool and run all the vital checks in minutes, which is exactly the kind of downtime-reducing feature a commercial operation cares about. It supports bars from 18 up to 36 inches, so it can fell genuinely large timber. The 592 XP represents the modern peak of Husqvarna's gas saw engineering. A saw that takes best-in-class cutting capacity and wraps it in a body light and balanced enough that a pro can actually run it all day. When people argue about the best big saw on the market, this is one of the two names that always comes up. Number 4. Stihl MS 881 Magnum. And now, the biggest of them all. If you've ever wondered which chainsaw sits at the very top of the food chain, the answer has a name: the Stihl MS 881 Magnum. This is, officially, the most powerful production chainsaw in the world today. There is no substitute, and there is nothing above it on the shelf. The numbers are staggering. It's a 121.6 cubic centimeter powerhouse, producing 8.6 to 8.7 horsepower and a colossal 8.0 Newton-meters of torque. And it does all that from a powerhead that remarkably weighs about 22 pounds. Stihl built it as the successor to the legendary MS 880, keeping that massive displacement while modernizing the internals to meet today's emissions and efficiency standards. It's still built in Germany, still made with pro-grade materials like a magnesium crankcase cast in Stihl's own facility. This saw is for the largest, toughest, most demanding jobs on the planet, felling and bucking huge diameter trees and heavy-duty milling. In the US, it accepts guide bars up to 41 inches, and its predecessor was legendary for pulling bars up to nearly 5 feet. To put its raw output in perspective, Stihl noted the older MS 880 delivered something like a 23% increase in engine power over the already heavy-duty MS 660. This is simply a different league. It runs an IntelliCarb compensating carburetor that automatically adjusts the air-fuel ratio as the air filter loads up with sawdust, keeping the engine at its correct RPM even when the filter's getting dirty. It's got a washable HD2 air filter for extremely long filter life, and a new oil pump that regulates delivery based on engine speed, critical when you're running those extra long bars. This is the saw that milling operators and heavy timber crews reach for when nothing else has enough muscle. It's not subtle, it's not light, and it's not cheap. It's the undisputed heavyweight champion. Number 3. Stihl MS 500 Die. We're into the top 3, and this one earns its place not for being the biggest or the strongest, but for being the most revolutionary. The Stihl MS 500i is the first chainsaw on the worldwide market with electronically controlled fuel injection, That's not an incremental upgrade. That's the saw that dragged the entire chainsaw industry into a new era. Here's why it matters. Every other saw on this list, brilliant as they are, relies on a carburetor to mix fuel and air, even the smart self-tuning ones. The MS500i throws the carburetor out entirely. In its place, sensors continuously measure air pressure, air temperature, and engine temperature, and the system meters the exact right amount of fuel for the conditions, automatically, at every moment. There's no choke. You press the primer bulb, pull the cord, and it fires. And what that fuel injection buys you is acceleration that has to be felt to be believed. Stihl says the MS500i spins its chain from 0 to 60 miles an hour in a quarter of a second. That famously beats the quickest Tesla off the line by over 2 seconds. For a professional, that instant throttle response means the chain is at full speed the moment it hits the wood. It saves fractions of a second thousands of times a day, and those fractions add up to real productivity. The rest of the package backs up the headline. It's a 79.2 cubic centimeter engine, producing about 6.7 horsepower, with a powerhead weight of just 13.9 pounds, which gives it one of the best power-to-weight ratios of any chainsaw ever manufactured, roughly 2 pounds of saw for every horsepower. It handles bars from 16 to 36 inches, and because there's no carburetor to tune, it self-adjusts perfectly whether you're on a frosty morning at altitude or a humid afternoon at sea level. Forestry pros and arborists talk about the MS500i as the saw that changed the game, and they're right. It's the future of the chainsaw, already here. Number 2. Stihl MS 661 C-M Magnum. At number 2, we have the saw that for a huge chunk of the professional world is the standard, the one loggers instinctively reach for when there are large trees to fell in large quantities. The Stihl MS 661 C-M Magnum is the 90cc benchmark, the saw so respected that competitors literally design their flagships to try to beat it. Remember the Husqvarna 592 XP a few spots back? This is the saw it was benchmarked against. The engine is a 91.1 cubic centimeter unit, producing 7.2 brake horsepower. And Stihl built it to be the lightest saw in its displacement class, with an outstanding power-to-weight ratio. That's the recurring theme of every great pro saw: huge power that doesn't punish the person carrying it. It delivers around 20% greater fuel efficiency than the model it replaced, the beloved MS 660, which means fewer stops to refuel and more time actually cutting. It runs the M-tronic electronic engine management system, which uses a microchip to control ignition timing and fuel supply while accounting for temperature, fuel quality, and elevation, so the saw is always tuned automatically. It's got a long-life HD2 air filter system that stretches out the run time between maintenance, an elasto-start handle with a built-in shock absorber to smooth out the effort of pulling the cord, and a high-output adjustable oiler so you can dial in lubrication for whatever bar length you're running. What makes the 661 legendary isn't any single spec, it's the total reliability and balance. It's the saw for forestry crews, municipal workers, and tree services doing serious felling, bucking, and processing day in and day out for years. There's a reason it's one of the most heavily purchased professional saws in Stihl's entire lineup. When a professional says, "Get me the big saw," an awful lot of the time, this is the one they mean. It's the workhorse the whole industry measures itself against. Number 1. Husqvarna 372 XP. And that brings us to number 1. The saw that isn't just excellent but genuinely iconic. The Husqvarna 372 XP is the most popular professional chainsaw Husqvarna has ever made, and it holds a place in the hearts of loggers around the world that no spec sheet can fully explain. Ask a veteran timber faller to name the greatest chainsaw ever built, and this is the name that comes up again and again and again. On paper, it's a 70.7 cubic centimeter engine producing 5.5 horsepower. A true professional saw in the larger mid-size class, built for very demanding applications. But the specs undersell it, because the 372 XP's real legend is reliability. This saw earned its reputation felling mature timber in the harshest conditions on Earth. Think powering through thick Douglas fir in the Pacific Northwest, day after day, week after week, with the kind of consistency that lets a professional bet their income on it. It combines low weight, high power, and rapid acceleration with the flexible, balanced handling that made it a favorite for everything from felling to bucking. Husqvarna built it like a tank, where it counts. It's got an extra heavy-duty magnesium crankcase and a forged 3-piece crankshaft designed specifically for the high RPM abuse of professional use. The carburetor has vibration damping to stop the fuel from frothing at high speed. The air injection system removes the vast majority of dust before it reaches the filter, and the modern X-Torque version cuts fuel use and emissions while keeping that trademark torque. Add Smart Start with a decompression valve for easy pulls, a transparent fuel tank so you can see your level at a glance, low vibe dampening, and a side-mounted chain tensioner, and you get a saw that's as practical as it is powerful. It's optimized for 20 to 24-inch bars but will happily pull a 28-incher for big diameter felling. But the reason it's number one is bigger than any of that. The 372 XP is the saw that generations of professionals learn to trust. A machine that just works, that's easy to maintain, that keeps running long after lesser saws have quit. It's simple, it's tough, and it's proven over decades in the woods. Newer, more technologically advanced saws have come along. Several of them are on this very list. And yet the 372 XP endures because in the demanding world of professional logging, dependability is the highest virtue there is. It's not just one of the best professional chainsaws ever made. For a whole lot of the people who cut trees for a living, it's the one. If you got something out of this, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe for more deep dives into the tools that build our world, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp out there.